And good evening. This is Frank Mottek, and we're doing it live right here, weeknights at our new time in the 5 o'clock hour in Los Angeles. Good evening. Mottek on Money, 5 nights a week for you, live on the air here on 790 KABC, streaming live online worldwide at KABC.com, and the on-demand Mottek on Money podcast at KABC.com, Apple, iTunes, all your favorite podcast platforms, and on the socials too at Frank Mottek on Twitter and Instagram. Stocks have just wrapped up the 4th of July holiday week with a pullback and what turned out to be a seesaw trading session today. Stocks posting early gains in reaction to the latest jobs report from the Labor Department out this morning, showing the number of jobs created last month turned out to be the smallest increase in about 2.5 years. The latest jobs report showed the economy created 209,000 jobs last month, well below what analysts were expecting. Initially, that was taken as a sign the Fed's series of interest rate hikes was finally starting to cool the economy, which the Fed's been deliberately trying to do to fight inflation, which is coming off last year's 40-year high. But other details of that report today suggest the Fed would still face pressure to continue raising interest rates. Average hourly earnings, for example, of 0.4% last month for a year-over-year rise of 4.5%. The unemployment rate edged down to 3.6% in June from 3.7% in May. The Dow came in for a closing loss of nearly 200 points. The S&P 500 down just about 13, and the Nasdaq slipped 18. For the week, the Dow was down 2%, the S&P 500 down 1.2%, and the Nasdaq slipped nearly 1%. The Dow seeing its biggest weekly drop since March. The hot labor summer continues in Los Angeles, with L.A. area hotel employees returning to work but warning of additional strikes possible. The writers' strike continues, and the actors could go on strike next week. We're watching all of that closely. We're seeing stocks starting the second half of this year with a pullback. All three of the major averages ended today with weekly losses, but still the S&P 500 up nearly 15% so far this year. We'll talk market shortly with Gabriel Wisdom. Cruise line stocks, meanwhile, have become top performers lately as the cruises go full steam ahead this summer. L.A.-based Princess Cruises, Carnival, Royal Caribbean, NCL, and the list goes on, doing amazing business as value-conscious consumers get on board at the ports of L.A. and Long Beach and all the big cruise ports now. We'll get an update on the cruise business tonight from the cruise guy himself, Stuart CHIRON, cruise industry expert extraordinaire, president of CruiseGuy.com. He'll be joining us live here coming up this hour. The average cost of a new vehicle is now up around $50,000, believe it or not. Just about 5 or 6 years ago, the average was around $35,000. Now 10% of all vehicles sold out there cost more than $70,000, 7% jump from 5 years ago. It's being called the least affordable motor vehicle market in modern history. Meanwhile, California, the state of California, and truck manufacturers have now reached a deal to phase out diesel big rigs by 2036. The EPA's new auto emission guidelines are being met with skepticism. We'll cover all that tonight with the one and only Lauren Fix, editor-in-chief of Car Coach and the co-host of the Total Car Score podcast. But first, on the markets, the economy, the latest jobs report, the Fed, inflation, crypto, AI, OIV, the whole works. Joining us live now is Gabriel Wisdom, Managing Director at American Money Management, based here in Southern California, and author of Wisdom on Value Investing. Gabriel, thank you very much for coming to the line here to wrap up the holiday shortened week as we kick off the second half of 2023. We had a short trading day Monday. Markets were closed on Tuesday for the 4th of July. We've seen a pullback this week with the Fed once again in focus. Appears now poised to raise short-term interest rates again this month based on the latest readings we're getting. More hikes possible. Give us your view of things here at the moment.
Well, Frank, the hiring slowdown that some economists have been hoping for, actually, because it'd be nice to have at least a slowdown that's in line with the normal business economic cycle. And the pandemic clearly hasn't canceled the business cycle. It's only delayed it. But this hiring slowdown wasn't much. Total employment, I should say, hit a new high in June of last year, and job creation continues rolling along. A lot of it has to do with some of the more depressed areas at the beginning of the rate hike cycle. Construction spending, for example, that's reaching record highs. First time private residential investment showed any sign of life in this latest reading. And also public construction spending increased for the 11th time in 12 months. So where's the Federal Reserve in all of this? This month, they're expected to raise interest rates. There's a 90% probability among the smart money at the Indian casinos that rates will go higher.
On there live with Gabriel Wisdom, Managing Director at American Money Management. And Gabriel, let me ask you this. With these now rate hikes expected, another one coming up this month and more possible before the end of the year, maybe one, maybe two as we head into to next year. Is this going to derail the economy and the markets? What do you think? What do you see ahead here?
Well, everybody's wondering, has the recession been canceled? Is it MIA, missing in action? There are at least three reasons to stay alert for a recession. One would be that inverted yield curve where short-term interest rates are substantially higher than long-term interest rates. That's always been an indication of an economic slowdown. It certainly told us that there was some kind of a credit crisis just before March when the regional bank problems occurred. Number two would be Federal Reserve monetary policy. They're raising interest rates, making money more expensive. And then finally, there's the declining amount of money in circulation, so-called M2 money supply due to the fallout from the March regional banking crisis. It's harder to get a loan. It costs more money. Money's more expensive. M2, for anybody who's forgotten, is the total value of all cash in circulation and in savings. It peaked in July of last year, and it's down 4.1%. By the way, Frank, we haven't seen a year-over-year decline in M2 money supply since 1933. That wasn't a good year.
Right. Thanks for noting that. A lot of interesting readings lately, including that one we got on manufacturing recently, which showed manufacturing at the lowest since May of 2020 when the economy was basically shut down. What do you make of that one?
Well, there's another great open-air indicator there. Manufacturing is a key a portion of the economy. I saw Rick Newman's column in Yahoo Finance this week in Bidenomics, and it's interesting because going into the election in 2024, Rich Newman makes the point that the Biden administration is hoping for a slowdown this year, not next year, because next year in the political season be very, very bad. That's the bear case for Biden, that stimulus money and the pandemic effects that have delayed the inevitable delay it to next year. So best case for Biden would be to get a recession over and done with this year so the recovery would be underway as the 2024 elections hit in the grand home stretch.
All right. As inflation remains in focus, we see the price of oil moving up again here, up nearly $2 here, 73 and change now. Gas prices still stubbornly high, certainly here in the Los Angeles area, off the record highs we saw just last October. We're looking at nearly $5 a gallon on average for regular in the L.A. Long Beach area, $5.27 now the average price for premium. What about inflation and especially the price of gas and oil, which impacts consumer confidence in a big way?
Well, we know that there's been a major slowdown in China, and they're a big user of consumer of oil. Prices have been somewhat stable until just this last week and a half, since Saudi Arabia announced it would unilaterally cut production by 1 million barrels a day. And that reduction announcement now is taking effect. Still, oil is far below its highs of last year. Typically, what happens when OPEC cuts supply is that you get a rise in oil prices. So this, we saw $120 per barrel. We're just about above $70 now.
Absolutely. Now we're watching the EV stocks, and we'll be talking cars later this evening with Lauren Fix, the car expert. And we see Tesla, of course, having a big run this year, pulling back a couple of dollars today to $274 and change. Nikola shares soaring today, 8.5%. After that, EV makers said its shareholder meeting was adjourned until August 3rd after failure to secure support for a plan to issue new stock, according to MarketWatch. And shares of Rivian, that truck EV company, up 14%, 8 days in a row now, after analyst at Wedbush boosted his share price target by 20%. What do you make of Tesla and the EV names here at this point?
Well, EV is a very exciting area. It's clearly.
For a limited limited time, Sweet Deals is offering qualified listeners the vacation of a lifetime. An all-inclusive 5-day, 4-night stay in a suite for just 2 adults and up to 2 children in Cancun, Mexico for just $299. This opportunity is valued at more than $2,600. That's right, a $2,600 vacation for $299, and it's all-inclusive, meaning all your food and drinks are included. Attendance is required at a presentation for Vacation Club ownership, but who cares? There's no purchase necessary, and you have a 30-day money-back guarantee if you change your mind. Do not miss this exclusive luxury vacation offer from SweetDeals.com. $299 for 4 nights at an all-inclusive resort in beautiful Cancun, Mexico. Go to SweetDeals.com right now and snag this once-in-a-lifetime offer. That's SweetDeals.com.
Stacking Benjamins with Joe and his good friend OG not only has great financial insight, it's laid back with humor too.
Dollar cost averaging works because everything else doesn't. Let me put that a different way. But dollar cost averaging works every time. Just keep buying.
60% of the time, it works every time.
People spend a lot of time, OG, worrying about when to buy.
This is really simple. You should invest when you have the money, and you should withdraw the money when you need the money. Boom.
There it is.
I believe they call that a mic drop.
The Stacking Benjamin Show, available on YouTube or wherever you listen.
There's lots of growth there. The Tesla supercharger network is the big score for Musk and for Tesla. In Shanghai, he joined with 15 Chinese EV companies in a mutual agreement not to wage a price war and to compete fairly. And now we learned today that Mercedes joins Ford and General Motors in making a deal with Tesla to use the supercharger network. This is huge. Now, there's a tech war between China and the U.S. that's getting heated up over the critical minerals that we need, germanium, I think it's called, and gallium. A new car, for example, requires some 100 semiconductors for touch screens and engine controls and the other systems, and that could slow the EV rollout. The U.S. share of global semiconductor production has dropped some 37% just in the last couple of years. So we're going to watch this closely.
Right, and it should be noted General Motors up for the 9th day in a row today, up 15 cents to $39.61 in an otherwise down market. What are your thoughts on the auto sector overall with the recession talk continuing?
You know, Frank, you mentioned the high cost of automobiles, of a new car, used cars too. And I think a lot of it has to do with this profit-led inflation that's been very persistent. We had, the supply chain inflation. We had the lack of things, the excuse-flation, let's call it. Now car manufacturers realize they can raise prices, and so do the dealers. So we've had tremendous profit-led inflation, and it's showing up in the earnings of General Motors and the other companies. I don't know how long it will last, but right now the music's playing and they're all dancing.
All right. Well, we do see some more flies in the Chardonnay here. According to Bloomberg, Ashford Hospitality Trust, this according to Bloomberg, expects to return 19 hotels to lenders in cities including Vegas and Atlanta, declining to pour more cash into the properties, which are part of a nearly $1 billion mortgage pool that missed a repayment deadline in June. A lot of concern about what's happening in commercial real estate. Gabriel, give us your reaction to that report and what's happening with commercial real estate.
Well, that's a very serious canary in the coal mine there. Every prior recession in modern history has occurred following a major decline in real estate and housing in particular, but commercial real estate as well. And this is a problem. I noticed that some research from Fannie Mae today is indicating that people are only moving if they have to. Confidence in the housing market has plateaued, and it's at a relatively low level. The high prices for money, the high prices for homes seem to be here for now anyway. But if we see a downturn in the residential real estate sector, like we're seeing in the commercial real estate side, then certainly we'll have a recession.
All right, labor unrest here in Los Angeles. with the focus on the entertainment industry. Anyone driving around probably sees the writers picketing the major studios. The writers' strike continues now into its second month here. What about the media names, which have come under tremendous pressure in the face of what's happening?
Well, you know, I'm always been fond of the old adage that Mr. Getty came up with years ago, that you buy when everybody's complaining and you sell when they're celebrating. Well, everybody's complaining about old media names. Now they're becoming new media too. The big concern, I think, among SAG-AFTRA and the other unionized members in the entertainment industry is artificial intelligence. We saw this week that AI now is able to imitate, a singer's voice. It can write music. Artificial intelligence is either going to save humanity or finish us off. That's the big concern. I think it's going to be a great boon and a tremendous leverage for production in every industry. But there's concern among the workforce here.
Certainly, an AI helped propel the tech names higher this year, especially in video. Any specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table as it relates to AI or anything else these days?
Well, for me, Frank, the big, most exciting thing about AI is all the other industries that have been hurt over the last couple of years in a downturn, a rolling recession. Now they're able to sell their idle equipment and their chips for this AI rollout. Crypto, for example, a lot of crypto miners have done very, very poorly. Bitcoin, has been the big leader, and there are a couple of others, but there's so many that have idle equipment. And so I think that they benefit here. In terms of what I'm excited about that's in the major disruptive stage, it has to be all these applications from biotechnology. McKinsey found 400 identifiable and scientifically feasible applications. For example, cow-free milk. Milk is a mixture of water and sugar, fat and protein. It's thermoscientific can make it now with genetically engineered yeast. So the cow doesn't have to hang around for 3 years and mature. It also eliminates animal welfare issues. Chicken-free egg whites, same thing. They're making in biotech labs. There's shark-free moisturizer, a skincare product derived from shark liver oil. At least it used to be. Now it's a fermentation process with genetically engineered yeast. I'm very excited about this area in the financial markets.
That means I lost my appetite. But anyway, let me ask you this. The craze that we saw in recent years was the artificial meat or meatless craze. I saw one of those companies went out of business recently. Has that craze abated now? Any observations here on that part of the economy?
Yeah. Well, they say that the pioneers are the ones that have arrows in their backs. And you take a big company like Thermo Scientific and some of these other very well-funded and diversified biotech companies that are making cow-free milk and meat and so forth. Not only is it humane, but it's a whole lot cheaper and it's very, very effective. So I like this industry.
All right. Well, bon appetit. Gabriel, thank you very much for the thorough, comprehensive update, as always, to wrap up the first trading week of the second half of the year. We always appreciate it and look forward to speaking with you again very, very soon. That is Gabriel Wisdom, Managing Director at American Money Management, based here in Southern California, author of Wisdom on Value Investing. Live with us here tonight, Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. Folks, don't give in to that constant joint pain. Take control. Take back your quality of life today with help from QC Kinetics. It's Frank Mottek here. QC Kinetics is helping people every day here and all across the country with their amazing non-surgical treatments that repair and restore damaged joint tissue. They use the latest advances in regenerative medicine, taking your own body's healing agents and concentrating them right in the area where you have that agonizing pain. This incredible non-invasive approach helps you take back control of your body, relieving the pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or back. No invasive surgery, no harmful drugs or steroids, and no downtime. Summertime needs to be about having fun and making memories, getting out there, golfing, hiking, enjoying the great outdoors. Take control now and start living pain-free again. Call QC Kinetics with locations in Glendale, the city of Orange, Mission Viejo, and now in Costa Mesa. Call 213-997-PAIN. That's 213-997-PAIN. Again, that's 213-997-PAIN. Mottek On Money continues here on 790 KBC. Good evening. Stocks wrapping up the week with a pullback. The Dow coming in for a closing loss of 187, back to 33,735. The S&P 500 down 13 at 4,399. The Nasdaq down 18 points at 13,661. The yield in the 10-year note has been bouncing around lately, and we have seen it pop above 4% this week. Nervous time again in real estate. That yield, of course, impacts the fixed-rate mortgage rates out there. Right now, the yield in the 10-year note is at 4.07%. Shares of NVIDIA continuing on a roll. That AI giant now $4 at $4.25 and change. We see Tesla pulling back 2 and change to $274.43. Oil is moving higher, popping nearly $2 today to $73.67 a barrel. That's the WTI price in London. Brent crude hovering above $76 a barrel. The good news is it's well below $121 and change, which where it was last year. Taking a look at gas prices, still high here in Southern California. We had that pop of 4 cents a gallon in California because of the rise in the state gas tax. $4.93 now, the average price for regular gas in the Los Angeles area. $5.27, the average price for premium. And diesel now averaging $5.14 a gallon. EV stocks in the spotlight today with Tesla pulling back, but some of the other EV makers, as I mentioned, including Rivian moving higher, and Nikola shares also moving higher today. Costco looks like the parking lot getting a little bit thinner. The stock down about 2% after the retailer's June sales edged higher, but comparable store sales fell 1.4%, including a 2.5% drop for same-store sales. No rise in Levi's today. The stock was down nearly 8% after the jeans maker lowered its outlook for the year, stressing that most of its inventory problems were behind it, but cited lower than expected revenue and margin, as well as the strength of the dollar for the cut, according to MarketWatch. And shares of Beyond Meat moving higher today, up $1.15 at $14.78. That company based here in Southern California. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KBC. Cruise line stocks have become top performers lately as cruises go full steam ahead this summer. LA-based Princess Cruises, Carnival, Royal Caribbean, NCL, the list goes on, doing amazing business. Value-conscious consumers getting on board at the ports of LA and Long Beach and all the big cruise ports these days. Let's get an update now on the cruise business from the cruise guy himself, Stuart CHIRON, cruise industry expert extraordinaire, president of CruiseGuy.com. Stuart CHIRON, welcome aboard to Mottek On Money here on 790 KBC. It's great to see you here in Los Angeles.
It is great to be here with you, Frank.
We appreciate it and appreciate your updates. Stuart, give us an update on what's happening at the ports of L.A. and Long Beach and the cruise business nowadays.
Well, between Carnival, Princess, Royal Caribbean, the ships are sailing full, as they are around the world, not only in the Mexican Riviera, but the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, Northern Europe. Ships are doing very well, and finally, the analysts are catching up and listening to what the cruise companies' executives have been saying, that the ships are full and getting back to 100% occupancy. The prices are higher, the passengers are spending more, and the bookings are way ahead of where they were same time pre-pandemic in 2019.
And it seems the cruise lines have positioned themselves very well, especially here in this area with newer and bigger ships, right, coming out of the ports of L.A. and Long Beach. Tell us about some of the choices here.
Well, I mean, you have one of the largest ships sailing out of the Southern California area of Discovery Princess. A lot of these ships are up in Alaska. Discovery's up there, and she'll be back. You have right now you've got the Carnival Panorama, which was introduced a few years ago. there's a lot of very good opportunities. And you have some nice sailings that you don't even have to get on an airplane. You could do Mexican Riviera, you could do Hawaii, you could do the California coastals, and there's some repositioning cruises back to the Caribbean, Panama Canal, as well as when they come back down from Alaska. So there's some nice sailings coming up, but there's still some great opportunities still available for July heading into August as well.
All right, that is exciting, and you're getting international attention about something that happened at the port of San Francisco this week with the ship hitting one of the piers there. Stuart, tell us what happened.
Well, Ruby Princess from Princess Cruises was returning from 10-night sailing in Alaska, and they did have the pilot on board. It's unknown who was responsible, but unfortunately they hit the pier, and the ship was damaged enough that they had to delay the next sailing. So the ship is still there. It was supposed to have left yesterday, and the latest word is that they've gotten the clearance to sail on Sunday. So this, instead of a 10-night sailing, it's been reduced to a 7-night sailing, and the passengers, whether they take the reduced sailing or decide to rebook for another sailing, there's going to be some various compensation plans for them.
All right. Fortunately, nobody hurt, right?
No, nobody was hurt, thankfully.
All right. Well, that is good news. And you're based out of the South Florida area, the largest cruise port in the world, Miami. Tell us what's on the horizon. We did have John Padgett on this program recently, the president of Princess Cruises, telling us about the new Princess ship that's going to be coming out soon. Tell us what's on the horizon.
Well, that's going to be their largest ship. It'll be the first liquefied natural gas ship. It'll be about almost 185,000 tons for 3,400 passengers. So there's going to be a lot of space per passenger. They're going to have a lot of very new features on board that ship. And so I had a chance to see it in March when she floated out. And I'm going to actually see her at the beginning of August to see, the latest updates. But, that'll be the first of the Sphere-class ships. And, who knows? There's talk that we may see one of those ships out here in Southern California sometime soon.
That's exciting, and it's always a big deal when the Cunard ships reunite here at the port of Long Beach with the Queen Mary there. In the past, we've seen Queen Elizabeth or one of the other queens come by. Is that going to happen anytime soon?
Yeah, August 27th, Queen Elizabeth herself will be returning from Alaska, and she will be stopping in Los Angeles on her way back to the UK. So it's going to always nice to have the queens in town, and of course next year they'll have Queen Anne, the fourth queen, joining their fleet.
That is very exciting, and thanks for breaking that news about the arrival of Queen Elizabeth, the ship coming here, and certainly in honoring the memory of the queen who of course departed this year.
Yes, and it's a storied brand. Actually, it's the second oldest. They just celebrated their 183rd. Anniversary, birthday, sailing the waters around the world in style, and so it's going to be nice for them to be able to get that fourth ship.
All right, and you are amazing. Every time I look at your social media feed, you're on another ship, a new ship around the world. How many cruises have you done recently?
Well, up to 311, and I got 2 more going to see Crystal Serenity. So we're going to see the Crystal Cruises restarting under new ownership. The end of this month on the 28th, and so it's exciting to see the 2 ships, Crystal Serenity and Crystal Symphony, have been completely refurbished. So it'll be great to get them under new owners. I think they're going to be better than ever. And then a week after that, you've got NCL coming out with Norwegian Viva, which will be sister to Norwegian Prima, and that'll also be sailing in the Mediterranean.
Fantastic. And what is the biggest ship out there right now?
Well, the largest ship right now is Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas. She is 237,000 tons, and coming in late this year, December, January, you've got the new Icon of the Seas, which will be about 251,000.
Stacking Benjamins with Joe and his good friend OG not only has great financial insight, it's laid back with humor too.
Dollar cost averaging works because everything else doesn't. Let me put that a different way. But dollar cost averaging works every time. Just keep buying.
60% of the time, it works every time.
People spend a lot of time, OG, worrying about when to buy.
This is really simple. You should invest when you have the money, and you should withdraw the money when you need the money. Boom.
There it is.
I believe they call that a mic drop.
The Stacking Benjamins Show, a Available on YouTube or wherever you listen.
For decades, Rolling Stone has set the bar for entertainment publications. Today, Rolling Stone Music Now takes over in podcast form.
It is incredible. Beyonce is in this place that I think is so enviable. I mean, it's so interesting that she starts with ballads.
Yeah, when I opened the live stream, it's like, what's going on? I thought this was going to be a different tone for the opening of the concert, but it is really cool that she's doing this moment, as intimate as you can get in a Beyonce stadium show.
Rolling Stone Music Now, wherever you listen.
Tons.
Wow. And where's that one going to be?
That will be based in Miami, and that will be the largest ship, and it's touted to be the absolute greatest family vacation experience possible.
Wow. You can definitely get lost on that one.
Yeah, it's quite a ship. I'm really looking forward to it, and the new Aquadome, Frank. I actually did the math, and it's 20 feet wider than the Pantheon in Rome.
That is absolutely amazing. And, I was in Miami back when the Port of Miami was just coming up with the Carnival ships, Mardi Gras, and the Carnival. Things have really expanded there, right?
They have. I mean, the Mardi Gras now, which sails out of Port Canaveral.
New one.
Yeah, the new one. She's 180,000 tons, 184, compared to the other ship was in the 30s or 20s. It's just amazing. I mean, the Icon of the Seas will be 5 times the size of the Titanic.
That is absolutely amazing. And so Icon, that's going to be the newest and the biggest one. And when did you say that's coming up?
That'll be coming out. Its first sailing it's going to be in January of 24. Sun Princess will be coming out in February of 24. So there's going to be a lot of incredible ships, hitting the high seas. But there's still a lot coming out. There's still a lot of new ships on the horizon for 23 that will be debuting.
And it's great to see a lot of the cruise lines now participating in charitable events again, including the Concern Foundation for Cancer Research event. Princess is going big on it, and we certainly appreciate that support and your support at that event coming up this weekend.
Very, very worthwhile event. I know they've got a live auction. They've got a silent auction. The photo booth, so you can take some Love Boat pictures. It's going to be great. It's nice to see how enthusiastic they've become after their first experience out there last year with you and I was out there. It's unbelievable. If you've never seen the Concern Foundation, it's something that you could really delve into and enjoy the food and the camaraderie and the entertainment.
It's certainly one event everybody looks forward to every year. Stuart, thank you so very much for coming to us live here in studio tonight and giving us that comprehensive update on what's happening in the cruise business here at the ports of L.A. and Long Beach and indeed around the world. That is the cruise guy himself, Stuart CHIRON, cruise industry expert extraordinaire and president of cruiseguy.com. Stuart, thank you very much for joining us live here tonight.
Thanks, Frank.
It is jarring to have a car accident and hard to think clearly when you're hurt. So my friend, attorney Clark Fielding of Fielding Law, created something to help you, a guide called Be Prepared Before a Motor Vehicle Accident. The guide is free, one page, fits in your glove box, and gives you everything you need in case you're hurt in an accident. Go to clarkthesharklaw.com and download your free one-page guide and keep it in your glove compartment and put Clark Fielding's number in your phone under the word accident. So all you have to do is dial his number when you need him. Tell your family and friends to do the same. So if you are injured in an accident, call the one we all trust, attorney Clark Fielding, 833-88-SHARK. That's 833-88-SHARK, 833-88-SHARK, and download the Be Prepared Before a Motor Vehicle Accident Guide at clarkthesharklaw.com. Again, that's clarkthesharklaw.com. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KBC. Good evening. The average cost of a new vehicle now up around $50,000. Big jump over the last 5 or 6 years. The average is around $35,000 back in 2017, and now 10% of all vehicles sold cost more than $70,000. 7% jump from 5 years ago. It's being called the least affordable motor vehicle market in modern history. Let's bring in the car expert now, Lauren Fix, editor-in-chief of Car Coach and the co-host of the Total Car Score podcast, who also gets lots of international attention with her analysis of the car business. And we always appreciate your time here, Lauren. Thank you very much for taking the call here this evening.
Well, thanks for having me back. Yeah, there's a lot going on in the auto industry. One of the interesting things is we're looking at the price of vehicles just absolutely increasing, and we're going to see higher increases as more demands are on the car market to produce electric vehicles that manufacturers aren't making money on. Because of that, they're raising the prices across the board. And that's where you're seeing less than 8% of the vehicles being under $30,000. I mean, you can buy a Kia Seltos, you can buy a Chevy Trax. You put on those options, and you're suddenly at a higher price. And this is a problem. I mean, if you want more safety, they mandate backup cameras, reminders that you have a child potentially in the backseat, which is a great safety feature. All these things just start adding up, and the cost of that has to go someplace. And the companies aren't going to absorb it because they're already taking a loss. In many cases, you can see the car industry is really suffering. And just today, some interesting information popped up. I found that General Motors sales of zero had pretty close to zero electric vehicles in this second quarter, as well as Ford having close to zero electric vehicle sales. And these are real numbers that are coming off of their production line. You can look. They can say anything they want. Dealers can take those vehicles, but when they're actually selling and going into the hands of consumers are deciding not to buy electric vehicles. They're really concerned about the infrastructure and the grid. And again, all of this just adds up to more losses for the car companies and increases the price of vehicles.
On there live with Lauren Fix. Let me ask you about that. It was came as a bit of a shock when GM said they sold 2 electric Hummers this year, right? Has that number gone up at all?
Yeah. Well, those are really expensive cars. But the second quarter sales for General Motors were impressive. Yet sales rose 19%, but not when it came to electric vehicles, which were a tiny 16,552 during that period, which is nothing. When you look at Tesla selling 466,000 cars in the second quarter, that's a big number. And GM is highlighting their EV sales, as is Ford, but they're both having trouble getting product out the door at reasonable prices. And that is a huge challenge for both Ford and GM and every brand for that matter. The only one that seems to be doing really well in the electric car business is Tesla. Of the mainstream brands, it's Hyundai and Kia. They're selling a lot of product.
All right, Mercedes making news. It looks like they're going to be plugging into Tesla's system, right? Have you seen that one?
Yes, I have. Actually, it started with Jim Farley from Ford sitting down with Elon Musk in a Twitter Spaces, saying that they're going to announce that they're going to start putting in their vehicles as of 2025. They're going to use the Tesla connection, which means the Tesla power stations will be available to everyone, which is great unless you own a Tesla. That was one of the big selling points of purchasing a Tesla, is that they had their own charging station and they were fast. The next day, Mary Barra said, we're going to sit down with Elon Musk, do the same thing in Twitter Spaces. They jumped on board. And then it was Rivian, and then it was Stellantis, and literally everybody has agreed that they're going to use the Tesla charging. Now, I will tell you this, and this is not common knowledge. In Europe, that is what they use, is one charging connection. It's the Tesla charger. However, if a non-Tesla product goes to Tesla stations, they're getting a low level 2 charge. They're not getting the fast charge that a Tesla would get, which means they're at that charging base for a longer period of time. So just things to keep in mind. Does this make sense for you? Maybe, but there's nothing like sitting around for the holidays in your vehicle while it charges or waiting in line to get a charge. And that has caused a lot of people to think about plug-in hybrids or hybrid options.
Absolutely. And I see you've been commenting lately and been asked to comment lately, and we'll ask you here now. The EPA's new auto emissions guidelines being met with lots of skepticism. What about that? What do we need to know about that?
Well, it's funny that I've been saying this for a long time, and we're not going to make these numbers, but the Alliance for Automobile Innovation, the CEO, John Bozella, he was arguing with the EPA saying, we're not going to make these numbers. It's not possible. All it's going to do is cause car prices to go up in price, which we're already seeing. But he's saying that, with the rare earth minerals and the way the batteries are, manufacturers could take a profit if they could create a profit off of these and use it for innovation to create a solid-state battery or other types of technology. But instead, they're using it to try and stay in business. And this is not good because this will affect the economy across the board. And from a money standpoint, you have to look at the Dow Jones. Half of the Dow is impacted by the auto industry. And you don't think about it like the car manufacturers, but no, all the sub-suppliers, whether it be components inside, tires, brakes, oil, batteries, all that has something to do, even technology, as you can see now with NVIDIA and everything, is all impacting the auto industry. And that is what is concerning people, that if it impacts the economy today where the market was down, but it's been oscillating, but it's important to monitor this because if car manufacturers start hurting, they start wanting to borrow money from the government, and Ford just did that. They borrowed $9 billion from the federal government. That puts them in line with what happened with General Motors, and this is very concerning.
Just about out of time here, but California, the state of California and truck manufacturers reaching a deal to phase out diesel big rigs by 2036. That'll be here before you know it.
Well, it's interesting because they've been fighting the EPA. All the trucking associations have been saying, listen, we can't live like this. We can't make it off of electric trucks and transport goods. So there is still litigation that is pending in the D.C. Circuit Court as we speak today. But the trade association said that because of the small carriers can't afford to survive in California, this is going to cause all kinds of supply chain issues. So this is not over with. They believe they have time to still fight this on the California Air Research Board because none of these changes happen overnight. So they have 2 decades now to make the change.
All right, Lauren, thank you very much for that comprehensive update tonight. It's always great to have you with us here. Lauren Fix, editor-in-chief of Car Coach and the co-host of the Total Car Score podcast, live with us here tonight on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC. We'll be back again Monday at 5 right here live on 790 KABC. You can also bring up the Mottek On Money podcast on demand at KABC.com or your favorite podcast platforms. Bring it up on that purple podcast icon on your iPhone. That's one way to do it on Apple iTunes. I'm Frank Mottek, and this is Mottek On Money on 790 KABC.